shame to see him waste his life away in the shelter.
Hi, I'm Karina, and this is Bailey. She's a toy poodle, and she's 1 year, 8 months this year.
Hello, my name is Danelle. My dog is called Alibi, and he is a Singapore special. Here he is.
Hi, my name is Emery, and I have 2 dogs. This is Nikki. She's a long coat Dachshund, and this is Vittens, who is a Maltese toy poodle mix.
My name is Atish. My dog name is Woody. He's a Corgi and a Schnauzer mix. Yeah, he's 10 this year.
Hi, my name is Vino. This is Benji. He's a mini Maltese and he's 1 year, 6 months, I think. Oh, yeah.
Dogs can understand the feelings of their owners.
Okay, so what happened was there was this period of time when I was actually quite down. So, when I came home that day, I was just totally, totally down the dumps. So what happened was I actually went to my room. Just to let you guys know, Woody doesn't really come to my room. He only comes when I bring treats in my room. That's how I tempt him into my room, And then what happened was he actually came, he jumped on the bed and he sat beside me. And it was really unusual, and this is not actually the first time, it wasn't a coincidence. And we actually realized that even when my brother was actually feeling really unwell during that time, Woody would actually go beside him and he would actually be very gentle. And actually Woody is quite rough. He liked to scratch and everything. You could see he was actually very sensitive to the whole situation.
I think for myself, okay, to give some context, right? So Mittens, she's 4 this year, and she's a super hyperactive puppy. Every day I come home, even if I leave the house for 5 minutes, right? And the second I open the door, she's just there jumping and screaming at me to carry her and everything, while my other dog, who is 17, is peacefully sleeping in the living room. So when a few years back, when I was very, very down for some reason, Nikki, who usually isn't very compassionate, she actually came into my room as well, similar to Atish's story. She came to my room and then she just sat next to me and she just stayed with me until I felt better. And I started giving her sayangs, and I was very happy and stuff. So I think in that sense, it happened more than once as well. So I would say that I don't think it's a coincidence that it happened.
Okay, so the reason why I disagree is because I feel it's not so much the feelings of us that they can sense, but it's more of the body language and our tone of speaking. When I scold her in a normal tone, right, she'll just look at me what are you talking about? But if I use a very firm tone to talk to her, or if I point a finger at her and I say no, then she will cower down, she'll sit down, or she'll lie down on the floor, then she'll stare at me oh shit, I did something wrong.
Like what Karina said, they are responding to our body language. If you said I love you in a very stern tone to your dog, I guarantee it will be scared, because it doesn't understand what I love you means.
There was a video about that.
Is it?
Yeah, there was a video.
And then the dog is
yeah. Then the dog was so scared.
Yeah, because it's the body language, the tone. They don't understand the 3 words I love you. They understand the way you say I love you, that kind.
Singaporeans typically do not want to adopt stray or rescue dogs.
My boy is a rescue. I got him from the shelter last December, and he was 10 years old when he was adopted by me. He was at the shelter since he was 3. That's a good 7 years that he spent in the shelter. And I think he's not the only one. There are many other stray dogs in the shelter that have just spent their whole life there. And that, I think, is testament to just that negative stigma people have around stray dogs, which I think is a shame, because after adopting him, I truly see he just like any other dog, they need a home.
I think to me, Danielle goes against the norm, because I was going to say that the stigma is people don't want older dogs. And usually that's the reason why that stigma exists, because they assume that at adoption drives and all that, usually you only see older dogs.
Generally, I would say in more recent years, people have been more open to adopting stray or rescue dogs. But I would say generally for my circle of friends who have dogs, I know they have bought their dogs from breeders and stuff. So based on my circle of friends, I would think that most people do not want to adopt a stray or rescue dog.
Maybe I'll share a bit more about why I chose to adopt Alibi, especially since he was 10 years old already. I am a first-time dog owner. I've never had a dog in my life. One of the main reasons I chose to adopt Alibi, right, is because I didn't want a puppy. Because puppies mean you got to really spend that time training them, taking care of them, that 24/7 attention, which I cannot provide. I adopted Alibi because he kind of came pre-packaged with a lot of the necessary skills needed. And it's just a shame to see him waste his life away in the shelter. he is 10 years old. He deserves to have a nice retirement home.
I think the pre-packaged thing should be a selling point for adoption. Right? I feel like a lot more people adopt.
I feel that when I talk to friends who want to adopt dogs, it's not that they are not open to adopting the dogs, it's that they don't know how to do so. Or either that, or they will just find that, it takes too long a process.
So for SPCA, what I know, right, it's actually really easy. You kind of just have to sign a paper and take the dog. Because I have seen people who do that, like they just, I like this dog, I want it, then sign paper, then ciao. But I think that's a bit unfair. So process-wise, actually, it can be really simple. But for me, what I chose to do was in July 2019, that's when I first met Alibi. I spent the next 6 months bonding with him at the shelter. So every week I would go down to the shelter and spend some time with him. And I only brought him home in December.
Okay, actually, I have a question though, like for those who adopted, like what happens if you actually adopt a dog, you sign the papers, you bring it back, then maybe like after 2 months, 3 months, you realize that, hey, I can't handle this dog anymore, and you want to return it back. Like, especially if, families, when they go down to SPCA, then the kid is like, mommy, I want this dog, I want this dog. They adopt it, and then, they don't want it after a few months, so, they can't take care. Then how?
In the paper that you sign, yes, it says like, okay, I will not return the dog. But if they come and like chuck the dog in SPCA's face, what can SPCA do?
Striking up a conversation is easier with your dog.
So I think definitely, because when you walk around, like normally I would say, you don't really say hi to strangers. Like you walk around, I don't know, you walk past someone, if you smile at them, they probably think you're weird. But like if you're walking a dog, and then like I think they will naturally tend to smile more, because like when they see the dog, like, oh, so cute, then they'll try, like, I guess they'll at least acknowledge your presence more than if you didn't have a dog walking with you.
So for me, I somewhat agree with what you say, but it also depends on what type of dog you have. So for my boyfriend, he actually has a mongrel, and the mongrel is very cute when you're small, but when he grew up, to people who don't really have knowledge of dogs, right, like they might be quite scared of the like big dogs.
I think I would like to add on to the point where Karina said her boyfriend is a mongrel, because Alibi, he is also a mongrel. And it's a very negative stereotype which a lot of us are still trying to fight. Because it is just unfortunate that they have a very negative image tied to them. So sometimes when I walk, people more like xiao me than like approach me, But I'm like, I do think it is challenging, but when people do take the time to approach me, then they will see like he just like any other dog lor.
Even for small dog myself, I actually encountered situations where I got scolded by another dog owner basically, because I let Bailey run free. Because Bailey is very friendly, so she wanted to go and play with the dog. Then when she ran towards the dog, right, the dog was so fearful, she broke off the leash and she ran away. Then I got scolded by the owner, like quite badly. But generally, I would say that I have talked to more strangers ever since I've gotten Bailey.
I would choose a natural death over euthanizing my critically ill dog.
It really depends on the situation and the illness that my dog has. Because if, let's say, in a situation where my dog is really, really ill, he has cancer, and the doctor is like, it's really going through a lot of pain and suffering, then I would definitely choose to euthanize it. But in some cases where I've actually heard where the dog is still responding, it's still okay, and the vet is like, you still can bring it home, it's going to pass on probably in the next week or so, I would still prefer to bring it home and let it, pass on naturally, rather than to, really want to end its life at that moment.
I think to me it's strong, like no. Like I would choose to euthanize it then, rather than let it pass on. So my previous dog passed on when he was very, very ill. And there was no like one problem, it was like multiple problems. Like he spent 2 years of his life like almost blind. I think that itself for a dog is quite painful. And then he started to not be able to walk properly and all that. I think if a dog can't like run around and play, that essentially is half its happiness gone. And like to see it like that, I think was very, very difficult.
If they're in immense pain, or if like they're in a vegetable state, or they're in a coma, then from a practical point of view, you also wouldn't want to be spending so much on medical bills. It sounds a bit heartless to say this, but you wouldn't want to be spending so much on medical bills when you know that your dog is in pain, and yet you're not relieving him of the suffering.
And I guess from like my personal experience, like Nikki is 17 already, and all along she's never had any health problems up until early this year with her breast cancer. And it was a big dilemma for my family, because we were like, is she in pain? Like, do we really want to go through surgery with her? Because medical bills will be very, very expensive for her surgery. So we were always discussing like, what do we exactly want to do? But I mean, luckily for my personal case, like Nikki is honestly a very healthy dog. Aside from the fact that she's like a pig lah, she sleeps like 22 hours a day. So she's honestly okay lah. And she wasn't like, it wasn't a bad idea to put her to surgery because the doctors did say like she was very, very healthy. So it wouldn't be an issue. But I guess in the case, if I knew that Nikki was going through a lot of pain and suffering, like personally as a dog owner, I feel like I have like the due diligence to like make sure she doesn't suffer any longer.
I feel like a dog owner will know, like in some sense, cause like for like my previous dog, he started to cry a lot. It's not like the crying for affection. It's just like sleeping and it's like moaning in pain, and like you can't really do anything to help it. I think that's the point where I guess you have to decide. Like in some sense, I totally agree. We shouldn't have the power to take away their life, but I think in some sense we also see it as taking away their suffering, and I think that's the difficult decision we have to make.
Thank you for watching this episode of Noted. To the dog owners out there, what do you feel about pet ownership? We want to hear your special stories with your pets down in the comment section below.
For those that do not own a dog or are thinking of being a dog owner, we hope this episode has provided you with some answers to the question you might have. Remember to subscribe to SG Layers and we'll see you next Monday.